Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone. Sorry for all this. What I'm going to talk about is slightly less than ideal how I'd actually hoped it to be, because my laptop seemed to have blew up as I tried to do the movie, so I have no idea what's wrong there. So this is, I suppose, the merit of having backups at least. So you get the PDF version of just a bit of an explanation before I actually show a backup of the actual movie. So anyway, just to give a current status of where the routing table is at the moment, I think most of you have seen pictures like this. Many websites, many mailing lists, and so forth. So you see the features of, this picture starts just about 1994, just before the internet went classless. You see all the big growth through to 2001, the internet bust, and then the gradual recovery after that. Okay, so that's the picture more just with just one view in it. In the last couple of years, we can see the kind of steady growth again after the recovery, late 2002, early 2003. The V4 address span, this is actually the amount of address space being represented by the internet routing table today. You can see various steps within that. Just to explain this, Jeff has got several views of the internet, and these are all superimposed here. So again, I think check his website for the precise views that he has. But if you look carefully in these, you see various step functions appearing. Those are due to 2 or 3/8 networks that seem to appear and disappear at random from time to time. So if we actually, that's it. Taking just one view, you can see it a bit more clear. Those jumps are all caused by somebody just announcing a /8, then saying, hey, let's withdraw it again in a few weeks' time. If you look at the more specific advertisements, in other words, people who are announcing their aggregate, but also announcing sub-prefixes of that aggregate, generally taking their aggregate and chopping it down into good old class Cs of old. It looks like that. You saw a general deaggregation of the internet up to 2001, and then it's kind of hovering around 50% or so thereafter, which is, at least it's been stable for the last 2-3 years. The unique ASNs, again, looking at the different views, see the growth through up to 2001, and then a gradual tailing off and linear growth up to date. The average AS path length, again, depending where you look, but it's hovering around about 4 ASs as the average depth of the internet. The V4 aggregation potential, well, the red line at the top is the routing table as we know it in the last 2-3 years. If you actually apply aggregation, in other words, throw away the prefixes that are being announced for no real purpose, I believe that is, can't see the colors, but it's the next line down, the green line. And if you go right to the bottom, the 3 lines at the bottom, you can remember which one refers to which, but that is if you ignore any of the path information, just do complete solid removal of sub-prefixes. So there's a fair amount of deaggregation within the internet. Looking at IPv6, the V6 routing table is growing slowly. It's sitting around 600 or so prefixes, again, depending where you look. And the number of unique ASNs in V6, again, is creeping up slowly. It's around about 450. So the V6 routing table is slightly bigger than the actual number of ASNs out there. The V6 aggregation potential, well, the V6 internet at the moment is, well, I suppose better aggregated than the V4 is, but we're still seeing a little bit of deaggregation happening, again, probably due to traffic engineering needs. Now, this is a precursor to what's actually going to be shown in the movie. This shows the actual V4 address space within the internet at the moment. So if you look along the bottom axis, that is represents the /8s. So if you look along, the yellow parts are all the address space that's still marked as, I think, IANA reserved, or what I think it is IANA reserved it's called. So it's a fairly significant amount of V4 address space still being held by the IANA. The portions marked in blue, if you look carefully beside the 16, you see a vertical line. You see vertical line? Yes, there's a vertical line. Network 10, of course, is the private address space. You can look up just before 128, you see the 127/8 loopback block. And again, if you look carefully, you see the other two RFC 1918 address blocks. Now, the red basically represents the /8s that have been allocated to the regional internet registries. So as you know, the RIRs get /8 blocks every few months, so you see those appearing quite clearly there. So of course, on the space from, say, 193 upwards, as well as around about 80 and around about 60 to 70. Now, the dark green represents what's been allocated by the RIRs and is actually being routed. The light green or grey, depending on how you see the color, that has been allocated by the RIRs but is not routed at all, or it's been allocated prior to the RIRs existing but is not being routed. So it's a fair amount of light green or grey areas present in this particular snapshot. So we'll see more of this in the movie, but if you try and remember those colors, because, okay, the movie takes 5 minutes to run, but there's quite a bit of information there, so it's going to be hard for me to try and remind you what all the colors actually mean. If we look at the ASNs, it's just under half of the the space still available, so around about 34,000 being handed out to the registries at the moment. Of those, well, you see the dark green ASNs are actually what's being used in the internet today. The light green color are ASNs that have actually been allocated but do not appear. So if you look back into the older ASNs or the smaller numbers, there are fewer and fewer of them actually appearing on the internet today. In V6 land, well, the left-hand half of that picture shows the 2001/16 address block. So allocations have started out of that block, as you probably know. And of that, well, the dark green has been routed, the light green has not yet. On the right-hand side of the picture, that is the 6-bone 3FFE/16 address block. Again, all of that has been allocated, if you like, to the 6-bone experiment, and of that you see the dark green portions are what's routed. Okay, so how did we get here? Now, unfortunately, I've only got a backup of the movie, so it's not all quite as fantastic as it might have been. Now, let me see if I can make this. No, I think I've got to do that. And okay, how about stop. How to make this go through? Okay, preferences, no video display, full screen mode. Okay, now I've got full screen mode. How to make it play? Right. Okay. Maybe if I just started playing. You can see it, I know, but it's full screen. Anyway, right. So there we go. It started in about 1982. So most of everything is yellow. So at the top we've got the V4 address space, the bottom the AS numbers. So going through 84, 85, the meters in the middle show you the rate of, I suppose, utilization of V4 and the AS numbers. So early days of the internet, 1 or 2 /8s being handed out, but otherwise pretty quiet. Also not a great deal of ASNs. So we go through 86. So we get into 87 through to about 90, it's NSFNet. So some of the universities starting to get address blocks. Starting to use the Class B space, if you notice, around 128. one or two Class Cs being handed out around 192 if you look carefully. Now you start seeing it's picking up. The Class Bs get more excited, the Class As get more excited. Still not many Class Cs out there. Okay, so now we've got, notice the IPv4 meters showing more activity. So the internet is kind of starting to take off. More /8s, or more Class As, Class Bs appearing. Remember, the dark green is what's being allocated, or what's being routed. The red is what's being the blocks that are being used. Notice the more AS numbers appearing as well on the net.
These are the good old days?
These are the good old days. These are the classical internet days. Look at the IP meter. It's really hammering through now. And I think this shows the concern that people had around that time of that we're going to run out of V4 space. So as the caption said, the rush is really starting now. More Class A's, Class B explosions happening through 92. Still not many AS numbers, so not a great deal of networks. And now we start transitioning to CIDR, and the RR system starts jumping into life. Still more Class B consumption and so forth, but you notice in the former Class C space, 192 and above, there's more allocations and routing of prefixes happening there. So this is... No, unfortunately the music is on my dead laptop, which is a great shame, because the music that goes with this just makes it, but anyway. Because, you know, the song at the moment is Money, 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 you know, because it's the explosion of the commercial internet. I also say it's a great shame. If anybody knows how to fix Windows 2000 short of using a mallet, let me know. So 96. So again, but you see the IP usage growth has slowed down, the meters 1 or 2. And this shows the success of the register system, as Scott had pointed out earlier. It really had put the brakes on the growth of the address consumption. Very little growth in the former Class A blocks. Now Jeff has actually got access to the registry allocation data, so that's why you see what's being allocated versus what's being routed. So that's appeared in as well. So you look, ooh. Okay, Susan, what's happened? Oh, it's just the screensaver, sorry. So you see in the former Class A block, there's quite a lot of address space that's allocated but not routed. And look at the growth of the AS numbers. I mean, that's the interesting bit going through 2000 and so forth. The more and more organizations, probably multi-homing and so forth, the AS number growth is massive. And one thing that I think is quite clear from this, that the advent of the 4-byte AS number should be thought of more than probably looking at a large address space, because at the rate the ASNs are going, we've probably only got 3-4 years left at this sort of rate. Okay, so the bust happened. Notice one thing with the bust, there's a lot of address space has been allocated, no longer announced, so the green actually dropped a bit. But now as the recovery starts, more address space being handed out, quite a bit of address space invisible, quite a large number of ASNs that have been allocated, no longer used. So we're into last year, just 1 year to go. But thing to note, look at the ASN meter versus the IP meter. It's fairly rapid consumption of ASN space there. And so the former Class C block is almost full up. And credits. No S. That's it.